It was the girl's first day working collecting letters for Juliet, and she accidentally dislodged a piece of the wishing wall, revealing a letter hidden inside from 50 years ago. The letter was yellowed by time, but the girl could never have dreamed that this letter, surviving 50 years, would completely change her life. Verona in northern Italy holds an ancient and mysterious legend. Touching Juliet's bronze statue will help you find your destined true love. Countless tourists flocked there, drawn by its fame, but besides touching Juliet's statue, there was an even more enticing legend. Leaving your emotional dilemma on the wishing wall would get a personal reply from Juliet. People deeply believed this legend, and the girl Sophie was no different. However, during a chance encounter, Sophie was surprised to discover that those letters were actually being collected by a mysterious woman. Driven by curiosity, Sophie followed this woman through streets and alleys, eventually arriving at a hidden room. Inside, several women were busily sorting the day's replies. It turned out these replies weren't written by Juliet, but by a group of women respectfully called the Secretaries of Juliet. And they had clear roles. Some specialized in resolving marital conflicts, others focused on soothing the heartbreak of the lovelorn, and one experienced woman could effortlessly craft replies to even the most complex emotional problems. Out of curiosity and enthusiasm, Sophie decided to join this special team. Yet, on her very first day of work, she unexpectedly discovered a love letter sealed away for 50 years. The letter told a love story full of regret. American girl Clare fell in love with an Italian youth, but struggled to choose due to her parents' opposition, so she asked Juliet for advice on what she should do.
Please, Juliet, tell me what I should do. My heart is breaking, and I have no one else to turn to. Love, Clare.
Faced with this love letter traversing time, Juliet's secretaries debated. They felt 50 years was long enough to change everything, and the writer had likely found her place in life long ago. But Sophie insisted this persistent love still deserved a reply, and she deeply believed the letter's owner might still be waiting somewhere for Juliet's answer. As night slowly fell, Sophie sat alone at the table, her pen moving lightly, filling the lines with her emotions and thoughts. After finishing the letter, she mailed it together with the old one to the woman who had written it so long ago. However, a few days later, a dashing young man sought her out. He introduced himself as Charlie, Clare's grandson. He inquired about who had written the letter that touched his grandmother's heart, and Sophie calmly and firmly admitted she had. But Charlie hadn't come to thank Sophie. Instead, he said she was meddling.
I was thinking that she deserved an answer.
Yeah, 50 years ago, maybe, not now.
I'm sorry, I didn't know true love had an expiration date.
True love? Are you joking?
Charlie was worried that if they couldn't find the person from that memory, his grandmother's disappointment would be even deeper. Faced with Charlie's reproach, Sophie was momentarily speechless, but she knew she had started this chain of events and must find an answer to take responsibility. So she quietly followed Charlie, finally arriving at Juliet's house and meeting the elderly Clare.
Excuse me, Clare? Hi. Hi, my name is Sophie. I wrote you the letter.
Letter from Juliet. Thank you, but however did you find us?
Well, your grandson found me, actually.
You did?
Right, well, but the thing is, I thought...
Yeah, well, he's very sweet and very charming. And he thought that you might like to meet me.
Night fell, and a romantic atmosphere filled every corner of the city. Clare tightly held the promise ring given to her by Lorenzo, complex emotions flashing in her eyes. With a touch of sadness, she began recounting their story. Memories honed by time unfolded in her heart, like exquisite paintings. Past regrets had weighed on her like a heavy burden, but now, back in this city, she was determined to mend that long-standing regret. Clare firmly announced that the next day she would begin her journey to find Lorenzo, the man who had never left her heart. Sophie was moved by Clare's determination and decided to join this quest for love, to witness this love spanning half a century, and planned to write a book about it.
Grant, a journalist, trying to pry into our private lives, Grant.
Charlie, come on, it's hardly state secrets, is it? I'd love to have you with us.
At the first light of dawn the next day, they eagerly set out on their search. They first arrived at an old mansion in the suburbs. A frail old man slowly came out, but Clare only glanced at him and confirmed he was not her beloved Lorenzo. Though disappointment was inevitable, her resolve remained unshaken. Sophie urgently searched online, astonished to find an astonishing 74 Lorenzos in the region. But luckily, the Lorenzo they sought only lived in the countryside, so Sophie narrowed the search. They continued their journey. They encountered a chess-playing Lorenzo, but his character was too playful. Next, at the docks, they came across a Lorenzo busy flirting, who also did not meet expectations. Then they came to a grand castle owned by a Lorenzo from a prominent family, which was even further from their known information. And so, under the glow of the sunset, their first day of searching came to an end. Returning to the hotel, Clare suggested Charlie share some experiences from his charity work at the law firm to ease the tension between her grandson and Sophie. However, upon hearing this, waves of emotion stirred within Sophie. She never expected Charlie would be involved in justice advocacy work, defending rights. Charlie knew that in Sophie's eyes he might have left a terrible impression, so before leaving, he took the initiative to apologize to her for his earlier rudeness.
Forgive me. Where are my manners?
You know, I've been wondering that since I met you.
Yes, well, I don't know what it is, but you seem to bring out the very worst in me.
Somehow it's my fault.
All of this is your fault. You wrote that blasted letter.
While walking Sophie back to her room, Charlie sincerely bared his heart, admitting his previous words and actions weren't malicious, but stemmed from not wanting his grandmother to feel the pain of disappointment. As the warm morning sun spread across the land, the group arrived at a tranquil nursing home. Clare, full of hope, softly introduced herself to the elderly gentleman. But when he slowly removed his sunglasses, those eyes didn't awaken any memories in Clare's heart. This eliminated another wrong possibility, and a touch of disappointment welled up in Clare's heart. Sophie keenly sensed her mood and offered gentle words of comfort. Though the light of hope hadn't gone out, a shadow of melancholy inevitably crossed their faces. Tonight's moonlight was like water. Sophie sat alone in her room, transforming the details of this search into flowing words on the page, weaving a deeply moving story. And just then, Charlie's knock at the door broke the quiet. He enthusiastically invited Sophie to dinner, but Sophie was immersed in her own story and politely declined his invitation. So Charlie had no choice but to leave, disappointed. But he didn't give up. Early the next morning, Charlie found Sophie again and extended another invitation, hoping she would join him for an outing. Sophie understood the deeper meaning behind Charlie's gesture, but she was captivated by the city's beauty. So they strolled together through the romantic streets of the town. Charlie confided in Sophie. When he was only 10 years old, his parents tragically died in a car accident, and he had lived with his grandmother ever since. It was this deep bond of family that made him silently stand by his grandmother's side, even when he disagreed with her decisions. Charlie's narrative seemed to resonate with Sophie, so she handed him the story she had written. Charlie read it, utterly enchanted, completely captivated by Sophie's talent, and so he became Sophie's first fan. The search continued. They met several more Lorenzos, a fruit seller at a stall, a priest at a church, and a busy chef in a restaurant, but none were the right one. As the sunset's glow bathed the earth, the evening for the young people quietly began. Charlie and Sophie met at a lively bar. After a few drinks, Sophie softly asked Charlie a question.
Do you believe in destiny?
Do you?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's destiny that I'm here right now.
In the hazy night, Sophie's sudden words struck a chord deep within Charlie's heart.
With Claire.
In truth, Sophie had already developed feelings for Charlie, but perhaps due to reasons hard to express, she chose to keep this affection hidden. As their search deepened, they came before an old manor house, but no matter how hard they knocked, no one answered. A neighbor led them to a cemetery, informing them that this Lorenzo had long passed away. Charlie's worst fear had finally come true. He began blaming Sophie for subjecting his grandmother to the pain of this fruitless search.
This isn't just a clever story with a
Stop
clever
it, Charlie.
ending. It's our life. It's my grand's life.
Charlie, it's not about a story.
No. She's already lost the man once. How many more times would you have her lose him? You know what? I don't expect you to understand any of this because you don't know a thing about real loss.
Charlie urgently wanted to end this journey, unaware his words had deeply wounded Sophie's heart. Actually, Sophie had lost her mother when she was only 9 years old. Though her experience somewhat resembled Charlie's, at least Charlie's parents had loved him, whereas Sophie had been abandoned by her mother. Therefore, she yearned even more for a warm light to illuminate her lonely path through life. Sophie sat dejected in her room, a sense of loss like never before spreading through her, until Clare entered and soothed her wounded spirit with comforting words. Yet Sophie's strength and kindness made it even more heartbreaking. Compared to her own sadness, she cared more about the pain Clare was enduring.
Man.
Under Clare's loving comfort, Sophie's mood gradually eased. She and Charlie lay together on the starlit grass, gazing up at the vast, boundless night sky. Facing Charlie's apology, Sophie said she didn't mind, because having lost her mother's love since childhood, she always loved lying on the grass on summer nights, making countless wishes upon the stars. Each star carried a different wish, but what she desired most was to have a forever happy and complete family. This deep longing resonated within Charlie's heart too, so he understood Sophie's inner hopes and wishes even more profoundly. And this tacit understanding, this mutual resonance, quietly fostered an ambiguous atmosphere in the silent night. They couldn't help but kiss. However, moments later, Sophie suddenly became aware of something and quickly got up and left. And Clare witnessed it all. To foster feelings between the young pair, Clare voluntarily gave up the front passenger seat for Sophie, instantly filling the car with an awkward atmosphere. Yet, when the car turned into a vineyard, Clare's eyes suddenly became urgent. She eagerly signaled Charlie to stop. A young man working diligently in the vineyard caught her attention because he carried the aura of the young Lorenzo. Upon Sophie's inquiry, they learned the young man's grandfather was the very Lorenzo they had been searching for. At this moment, Sophie and Charlie were overjoyed, but Clare seemed slightly hesitant. After all, time had passed, and youth had faded.
Ridiculous. He knew me when I was 15 years old, a girl. That girl's gone.
This true love, missed for 50 years, was finally reunited at this moment. With just an unintentional glimpse, Clare recognized him as that young man from long ago. An irresistible embrace dissolved 50 years of regret and sorrow. But Sophie seemed somewhat lost, leaving alone with tears in her eyes. Charlie was puzzled by Sophie's action and immediately drove after her, only to unexpectedly witness Sophie embracing a man. In that moment, Charlie finally understood Sophie's long-held concern. It turned out she was already engaged to someone else. Watching Charlie's departing figure, complex emotions welled up in Sophie's heart. But their connection wasn't over yet. Back in New York, Sophie gave the story she wrote to her boss, who was full of curiosity about its ending. However, due to emotional entanglements, Sophie hadn't contacted Charlie for a long time, so the story's ending remained unresolved. But Sophie ultimately realized her dream. She became a writer. She excitedly shared the news with her fiancé Victor, but Victor's reaction was lukewarm. Actually, Sophie and Victor's trip to Juliet's house was meant to be a pre-wedding journey, but shortly after they arrived, they instantly went their separate ways. Victor abandoned Sophie to attend his beloved wine auction. When Sophie mentioned possibly delaying a few days due to Clare's matter, Victor actually said it worked out perfectly for both. Recalling Victor's various behaviors, Sophie felt lost about what to do. Yet the gears of fate are always full of surprises. That day she truly received Clare's wedding invitation, with that 50-year-old letter tucked inside. Looking at this letter from 50 years ago, then seeing the warm scene of an elderly couple supporting each other in the distance, Sophie made a brave decision. She refused to spend her life with someone she didn't love, so she resolutely broke up with Victor. Though Victor tearfully swore to change, it was now too late. Then Sophie journeyed back to Italy and attended Clare's wedding as promised. Meeting again, Sophie had shed all her burdens. Her eyes shone with determination and confidence, but a woman's appearance shattered all her illusions.
Great to see you.
I'm gonna go in. I will, I'll see you after, okay?
The wedding bells rang as scheduled. Clare, holding the reply Sophie had written in Juliet's name, read it affectionately before the guests. That letter not only helped Clare rediscover the key to happiness, it also made her determined to pass that happiness on to Sophie, sincerely wishing that Sophie would one day find her true home and no longer be hurt by love. Yet when Sophie's gaze fell upon the woman beside Charlie, her heart involuntarily sank. and she left her seat with a heavy heart. Seeing this, Charlie immediately chased after her. Sophie stood on the balcony now, just like Juliet in the old tale.
I love you. I can't believe I just said that. But I do. I love you. It doesn't. I mean, this shouldn't matter to you because you're here with Patricia.
Patricia?
And you should be back with her right now.
Patricia is my cousin. She's my cousin.
How is that legal?
No.
Charlie climbed up the vines, trying to explain everything to Sophie.
Because the truth is, Sophie, I am madly, deeply, truly, passionately in love with you.
Oh my God! Hi. Nobody saw him.